Hey everyone, it's Dr. Mary Barbera here, and I wanted to talk to you today about how to teach children with autism to talk in sentences, which is a big question that comes up, even to get from one word phrases to two or three word phrases to talk in sentences. A lot of confusion around if and when and how that should be done. So today I'm going to cover that. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Dr. Mary Barbera, and I've been in the autism world for 2 decades. First, as a very confused and overwhelmed parent when my son Lucas started showing signs of autism way back in 1998 and was finally diagnosed. After a year, I was in denial about his autism. He was diagnosed a day before his third birthday in 1999. I went on to become a board certified behavior analyst. I wrote a best-selling book called The Verbal Behavior Approach: How to Teach Children with Autism and Related Disorders. It is in over 10 languages now. I think we're up to 12 languages. I've been all around the world speaking about autism. I've done keynote speeches in many places around the world, including Australia and Hawaii and uh, the UK and France and every part of the United States pretty much. But for the past 4 years, I've been focusing on getting my message out and getting techniques out, proven techniques, to help kids with autism via online courses, YouTube videos, my new podcast called Turn Autism Around. So I've been trying to reach parents and professionals. Most of my work, my book, my blogs, my podcast, most of my work is focused on working with kids 5 and under, any age, maybe not even have autism, maybe just speech delays, because the same techniques work. Parents on waiting lists to see if their child has autism, like any of those under age 5, any kind of delays, I can help. My techniques work. And then I also work, and a lot of my focus is on helping kids with moderate to severe autism who are older, older children, teens, adults, young children with newly diagnosis. So I really just want to help people. So in addition to being a board certified behavior analyst, mom to Lucas, who's now in his early 20s, I'm also a mom to Spencer, who's 21 and in college. I'm also a registered nurse. I have a PhD. So I have a lot of information here. And I'm hoping to be able to present some more information live. So this was not scheduled, but I do see we have some people here. We have Valeria and Paula. So if you're joining me here, and if you're comfortable, please type in the comments who you are and where you're listening from, watching, if you are on Facebook, or I think I'm streaming to YouTube, although I'm not sure that that's working. I'm trying to do both, but we'll see. Anyway, so today I want to talk about how, if, when, and how to get a child with autism to talk in sentences. And it seems like everywhere I go, there's questions about this. I did do some video blogs on this very issue. One is called something about carrier phrases. So anytime I say, like, I did a blog on that or I did a podcast on that, everything should be easily accessible online. So if I say I did something on carrier phrases and that is an interest to you, then just type in Mary Barbera or Mary Autism carrier phrases, and it should pop up what I've presented in the past. So I did one on carrier phrases. I did another video blog on how to teach Timmy, or why a goal for 3 to 4 word utterances is inappropriate. And so a lot of times when kids become vocal or they start speaking, and just say they're one word utterances, and so everybody then is in a big rush to get sentences or phrases. And so a lot of times what speech therapists do and behavior analysts and teachers do, very well-meaning people, is they start putting I want in front of things, or they start putting that's a in front of things, and start prompting. So if a child reaches for water and the child even says water, okay, then the parent or well-meaning teacher might hold it back and say it in a sentence, say it like a big boy. And that, in essence, is punishing that spontaneous language. It's making it harder. Another thing people try to mush in together, besides the I want and the carrier phrases, is they try to throw in please to everything. So instead of just a spontaneous request or demand for water, now we have a parent or teacher requiring or asking for more, asking for I want water, please. And if articulation is a problem, the clarity of their speech is a problem, that is a very bad idea. But even if their speech is crystal clear, it's still a very bad idea to constantly be asking for more language. So you might say, well, I thought you were going to teach us how to teach all this sentences, because that's what I want. That's how I measure success. But what I want to get across is that increasing the length of the sentence is not really the best way to measure success. Because while we're teaching a child language, we also have to worry about other things like problem behaviors, like self-care, how the language is sounding, if the articulation. So if the child can barely say water clearly, like wah wah, and now you start asking for I want and please, it may become very garbled, like I wah wah wah, please. That is not doing any good to the child or to his loved ones or providers. So we have to really step back and stop thinking like, I just want to teach sentences. That's how I'm going to measure progress. And in my opinion, there's three things that are really super important to a child's progress and their overall well-being. And that is the ability to request their wants and needs vocally, sign language, picture exchange, augmentative device. But that doesn't involve those I want and please. Water is, if we can get clear water that a stranger would understand, that's better than I want, please. Because that mess, you're going to have caregivers and new therapists and new teachers not understand that, and that's going to be frustrating. So the number one thing I want for all kids is to be able to request their wants and needs, preferably to a stranger eventually. The second thing that I think is super important, much more important than expanding length of utterance, is major problem behaviors at or near zero. It's going to be really difficult for you to find providers and babysitters and schools that will accept a child that's highly aggressive, that's having self-injurious behavior, that is having property destruction. So that's what I mean by all these major problem behaviors. And the third thing that I think is important is self-care skills like toilet training. If your child doesn't have potty training down pat, and continues to have problem behaviors, the more you push at language expansion and everything, you're just spending time not looking at the whole picture. I spend a lot of time in my online courses and community and my Facebook pages and my blogs and everywhere saying we need to step back, look at the forest, not be into the trees and into the things that won't really matter in the long run. Okay, I'm going to take a little break and just see who's here. Avanthia, I think that's what it says. What about getting them to talk, period? Yes, and I do have some video blogs on non-vocal to vocal, getting children to say their first words, and even sounds. So that is a big, I spend a lot of time on that. My book, The Verbal Behavior Approach, Chapter 6, has how to non-vocal to vocal. So lots of great techniques in there about that. So Maria is a top fan. I'm not sure what the algorithm is for that, but I appreciate that. And Kate Morris is here as well. So thanks for saying hi for those of you that did. So today I'm talking all about how, when, and if we should get kids to talk in sentences. So I think I've made, so in general, kids with autism, their language is almost always delayed, especially in the beginning. They do tend to lack spontaneous speech and spontaneous requests. So if they are requesting with a single word of water, we shouldn't right away say, we want more, ask for, I want more water, please. Because that basically punishes and will decrease their spontaneous language. So we don't want to jump to trying to push in carrier phrases or manners. Kids with autism, in addition to being speech delayed and lacking spontaneous speech, they also sometimes have problems with vocal stimming or scripting, and I have done a few video blogs on that. Many children with autism can also have poor comprehension or understanding of language. So all the language that you're using, a lot of it may go over their heads. I do use the analogy, like if you are taking Spanish classes and you're speaking English and you go to Spanish level 4, but you haven't mastered Spanish level 1, there's going to be a lot of things that are just going to go over your head. You're not going to understand, if they say, como se dice, blah, 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 you might be like, okay, I know what agua is, but I didn't understand the whole other part. And that's where it's a little off topic, but a lot of people don't understand that language is broken up into operants. It's just the way language is used has functions. And so answering questions, which we call intraverbals, is the hardest operant in any language, any age, any child, any adult. So asking a child, what do you take to the beach versus what do you wear to the beach? We change one word, it changes the answer. And so a child that has very little language is not going to comprehend whole sentences. So not only should we be really reluctant to try to prompt or teach whole sentences, but we should also be, this gets back to the question, how do you teach language to begin with, is we want to use short phrases. So we want to use one word. We want to use short one words, like 1 to 2 syllable words. Water, water, water. Not, would you like some cold water? Blah, 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 blah. If we're going up the steps, we're not going to say, Johnny, let's go up the steps to take a bath. We can just say up, up, up. So we want to be pairing these one to 2 syllable words constantly throughout the day. And that might help the child begin to speak. Okay, so we have poor understanding. We've got some scripting and stimming sometimes. We have lack of spontaneous speech and language delays. So, and we know the spectrum of autism is huge. If you don't know that and you're here, I think you should know that the spectrum is very huge. And we have non-vocal, not understanding much at all, to going to college and learning to drive. And some of my clients, my former clients, are actually going to college and learning to drive and those sorts of things. So know that it can happen. It can start out looking very bleak. And then with the right interventions, it can really be a lot better. So we have a question. So Blanca, tips on having a conversation with a child when it comes to behavior trouble at school. He's not saying or explains what happens. Yeah, so it kind of ties in with teaching whole sentences. So we've got kids on the spectrum, at the low part of the spectrum, that aren't talking at all. We have children that are talking in 1 to 2 word utterances. We even have children that are talking in sentences, but complex situations from the past, like what happened at school today or what happened last week, that is not because the child's being stubborn. It is because the child probably has a language deficit. So no matter where your child or clients are at, we've got to assess. First of all, I think we have to stop focusing so much on trying to increase length of utterance until you know a lot more. Because I think once you know a lot more about it, you'll realize how kind of that doesn't really make sense and doesn't lead to the child's fullest potential, which is always what we want. So we want to stop focusing on length of utterance. Then we need to take a step back and we need to assess the situation. I do have a 1-page assessment as part of a 3-step guide that I wrote, and you can get that at marybarbera.com/join. You can get the 3-step guide, and that has the 1-page assessment that you can do within 10 minutes, especially if your child is not conversational, is pretty low with language. That'll make a lot of sense. And eventually, my courses revolve around the VBMap Assessment, which was written by Dr. Mark Sundberg. And Dr. Sundberg also wrote the foreword for my book. He's renowned in the field. And I feel like the VBMap really gives a good understanding of where the child's language is at and how we have to systematically put things together. We want to then plan what we're going to do. And what I see too in terms of length of utterance is a lot of times, well, the speech therapist, the private speech therapist wants to focus on this. The behavior analyst wants to focus on this. And unless everybody is on the same page, we've got an issue. So planning, making sure that the goals are based on the child's assessment, not based on a bank of goals that somebody created for everyone. We want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, that everybody knows about reinforcement. Everybody knows what a VBMap is. Everybody knows what a MAND is versus an intraverbal. It's really that important. Otherwise, in my opinion, you're going to be just chasing your tail. And then, so we want to stop focusing on language. We want to assess. We want to plan. And then how we teach, which was my whole point of this segment on teaching children with autism to speak in sentences, is instead of adding carrier phrases or manners, neither of which I think is a good idea, also more is not a good idea. Instead of focusing on those words that really don't matter, we want to focus on things the child wants, like water, cookie, iPad, movie, potty, whatever the words are that the child will request or would need to request. We want to focus on those first. Then we want to focus on things, actions, and adjectives that could be coupled together with that first word. So if we teach cookie and we teach drink and we teach a movie, then we want to focus on, and maybe we teach ball, then we focus on kicking, throwing, watching, pushing. So push the swing or kick the ball. Those are words that are going to matter. Instead of cookie and then throwing in I want cookie, we're going to do cookie, but then we're going to teach sugar cookie versus chocolate chip cookie. Or if we do candy, then we might teach colors, which is a whole other thing that a lot of professionals are teaching not the best way for kids with autism. So I did a video blog on colors, for instance. But you could teach candy, and then you could teach the different colored candy so the child, it makes sense for the child. So they're able to ask for things that they want, either with an adverb and noun, or adjective and noun, or noun and verb. And we're putting together short phrases that are actually what we call 2-word pivotal phrases. That is how I would get the child from 1 word to 2 words. But I wouldn't do that unless you have a VBMap assessment, unless you know what you're doing, because the more you try to teach language, in my experience for 2 decades, the weirder the language is going to get. So we don't want to get weird language. So Let me see. We have a couple more questions. One of my girls is manding really well. Excellent. I wasn't going to do toilet training for a few months yet. I was thinking this summer when she is 3.5. Yes, I think, Kate, you're in our course too. This is my public page, but yeah, I think watching the bonus videos within the course on potty training would be good. And know that even typically developing kids often don't potty train until 3.5. So, in my experience, you might have to push it off a teeny bit later. But in the meantime, you could pair up the little potty with reinforcement and just have your girl or girls sit on the potty. Boys need to sit too before bath time, first thing in the morning, just to get them used to it, not to do any established toilet training program. Paula said we did toilet training with just potty side. Okay, great. Okay, so Naomi said, aloha, Mary. Just listened to your conversation podcast. It was awesome. Excellent. So anybody that wants to listen to a whole lot, I did a podcast with Rose Griffin, who I think is here. So Rosemary Griffin did a podcast with me, an interview. She is an SLP and a BCBA, so a speech and language pathologist and a board certified behavior analyst. She did a podcast with me. I also did my own podcast, a solo show on how to teach conversation skills, and lots of video blogs out here. So if you missed the beginning, just Google Mary Barbera plus whatever topic. So whether you're having trouble with scripting or whether you're having trouble with conversation skills or first words, just Google anything and one of my resources should pop up. Okay, well, I enjoyed popping on today. I hope you did too. I'm planning on doing this a lot more in the future. So stay tuned. And for more information, really, there's so much free information on the internet about autism. I provide several free resources weekly on my video blogs and podcasts and everything. But really, if you want to make the most progress, I think the best thing to do would be to join one of my online courses and community, because there I can really support you, not just me, but the whole community can support you, and you can really learn more of a systematic approach. So to learn more how to do that, you can sign up for a free online workshop at marybarbera.com/workshop. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up, comment, share the video with others that might benefit. And like I said, for more information, just sign up for a free workshop at marybarbera.com/workshop. And I hope to see you real soon. Thanks for joining me.